Hello, good morning, or whenever. It's morning for me. It's 10:51 a.m. So I basically woke up, had some breakfast, and started recording from last night. um, yeah, I'm excited. It's a good day. It's a long weekend. I kind of want to do at least two videos a day, which will pretty much, if I actually do it, because sometimes I say I do, but I don't, will actually like almost fill up next week's full schedule, which would be pretty cool. But we're gonna continue on with chapter 8. Got, last chapter we got the information that some guy has been claiming that he was the murderer, and to back it up, he knows details of the crime which nobody else should know, which is pretty interesting. We did talk about in the video some possibilities, but it is very curious. I also didn't even talk about the possibility that Satoshi told that guy, but I really don't think it's that because I don't think he disappeared willingly. But he could have. Probably should keep that open in my mind. Um, had the discussion with Oishi. We kind of came to a deal where we'll tell each other about Satoshi information, but I forgot if we actually accepted or not. Um, then we had the realization that Rena both talked about Satoshi and the curse, so we'll probably have a confrontation with Rena eventually. Um, Still need that confrontation with Mion. And I guess that's the two I'm looking for. I don't know if it'll happen this chapter or the next. I don't know where this is. Is this the... I think this is a new background. Or unless this is like the library. Maybe it doesn't really look like... I mean, I guess all the books and stuff. Could be the library. I don't think it's the hospital or clinic or the police station anymore, so... Let's just get started. Short intro today. Bet people are happy about that. I moved from one chair to another because the air conditioning was too cold. Honestly, air conditioning is never too cold for me. I get hot so easily. I moved with my notebook, my pen case with a bunch of keychains, and my cup of milk tea. I did it all in one go. I sat down in a new chair, then opened my notebook again. I scribbled thoughts and sank into silence. I don't think this is the notebook. I mean, it might be the notebook from the hints plus the one showing on screen, because we do know that it is Shion. So, but it felt like it was coming from the perspective of much later, or this is like still in the Satoshi era. So I'm not completely sure. The series of mysterious deaths. Dubbed the Curse of Oyashiro-sama. I've been viewing each incident as a separate case, even though it was followed by another. I've never looked at all the cases as part of one big scheme. Same here, honestly. If you don't remember my point of view, I do think that I do believe that each of them could be done by different culprits, or some done by the same. I don't think it's one person planning everything. It seems a little too hard to do. Like if Satoshi did it, it's not like he was a part of a plan from some other people, right? Or he could have, if it's like the scripting thing, whoever's doing that. But that's some meta confusing stuff. So we're just talking about some grounded stuff. Like I said, I do think the Sonozakis could be involved in the first one, and I do think Satoshi's involved in the fourth one. I did say the possibility of Satoko accidentally. I still don't actually remember if Satoko and Satoshi were on the vacation. I just assumed they were, so maybe I'm completely wrong, but Satoko could have accidentally did the second one. Still don't know about the third one. I mean, Rika could do it, but Rika's probably the most likely suspect out of everyone, but I actually don't think she did it. So yeah, that's just a quick recap of what I think of the cases so far, not including the fifth one, obviously, because there's a lot to think about, and we haven't really even seen the one referenced in Hima Tsubushi. After I wrote down all the incidents on paper, it became clear to me that all of them served the same agenda. I wrote down the victims. But yeah, I guess what I was saying, it was almost coincidence, but I also think that some people could have been murdering with the fact that people will think it's the curse in mind to kind of mask it. But it is kind of weird for it to be a coincidence, huh? I wrote down the victims. The first year, the construction site manager. The second year, Satoshi-kun's parents. The third year, the priest. The fourth year, Satoshi-kun's aunt. That's interesting. She's putting both of the parents on the kill list when all of them are one kill, one missing. And then they both fell, but they never found the body of the mother. So that I still think that should be in the disappearance section. For the fourth year, one could consider Satoshi-kun to be the victim rather than his aunt. If I consider that each case arose from the grudge over the dam conflict, it's quite simple. In the first year, the construction manager was killed because he was a symbol of the dam construction itself. I agree. I think this is... we don't know the culprit, but it's the easiest to at least dissect. Of course, the real enemy was the Ministry of Construction, but it wasn't as clear a target. That manager, on the other hand, had been aggressively shouting back at the villagers, so he was a more appropriate enemy to attack. And I just noticed we have the soundtrack that we had for the majority of last episode too. Great, it's a good one. I like it. If Oyashiro-sama had really cursed someone, it would have been the officials from the ministry. It's apparent that the target was selected based on the villagers' preference. The second year, the accidental death of Satoshi-kun's parents. It's said that they fell from a cliff in some park, but it's doubtful that it was really an accident. His parents were labeled as traitors to the village because they sided with the dam construction, even though they were also from Hinamizawa. But they were far away from Hinamizawa, so it can't be any of the villagers or the Oishi or the police would have just looked at the list of people around there. I thought they were like closer to like a resort or something, but maybe I'm wrong. And just see if any of them left the villagers to check. That being said, it could be overturned by the Sonozakis just hiring someone else. I was trying to say the Yakuza men, but then the police would just connect that to the Sonozakis too. Not that they could probably pin it on them because of how they operate. But they never did find any culprits for that, so guess they didn't, or it was something else. The Hojo family was ostracized during the dam conflict in order to prevent further pro-dam activists from rising up. That means the Hojos were necessary during the conflict to play the role of the traitor. So when the conflict was over, they no longer served any purpose. The construction site manager was a symbol of the external enemy. The Hojos were a symbol of the internal enemy. Those people fell victim to the curse, and it seemed that the grudge over the dam conflict had ended. Yet those incidents were followed by another one. The third year, the leader of one of the three families, the priest Furude, suddenly died of an illness with an unknown cause. His wife drowned herself on the same night. She seemed to have left a note saying that she was sacrificing herself to pacify Oyashiro-sama's anger. Whether it was a fatal disease or suicide, the deaths looked suspicious. This is, again, the hardest one to say because they said that they couldn't find the reason why the priest died, which was really weird, and then they never found the body. They just found like clothes or the note next to the swamps. But they searched the swamp and found no bodies, so this is the hardest one for me to imagine what actually happened. Mian admitted that the Sonozaki family didn't like the priest's attitude. They didn't like how the priest had been generous towards the pro-dam activists. The priest wasn't quite a traitor, but he was certainly uncooperative. But is that enough to kill him? Like, I guess if you do go for the Sonozaki angle, you do want to continue this curse. But to like strike fear, but also like, what is the result of the curse? The result is more people coming to the festival, which I mean, I guess aids the Sonozakis, but it also kind of aids like the Furudes, but obviously it's not the Furudes because they died. I was just thinking, like, if you actually look at the situation, more people are going to the festival in fear of being cursed. That's like that's one of the main messages. The other one is sending a message to anybody betraying them, which obviously leans more to the Sonozaki side, but the people coming to the festival leans more to like the spiritual side, which could be like the Furudes, though I doubt Rita's doing it, but I mean, I guess you can look at it like me suspecting Rita kind of just ignores the stuff I have been theorizing about her, but I guess I should, again, be open, Aiden. Don't be too tunnel visioned. I do have that habit too, though I do try to be pretty open. I guess I would also kind of go with Takano of it, since she's, again, super interested in the history and stuff, and I guess she would like to see people in the festival, but it's a bit more meh. Doesn't feel that strong. But yeah, carrying on. Looking at these incidents, I realized that the curse was performed based on the degree of hostility. I mean, I guess she means the order. Enemy, traitor, and dissident. Dissident. There we go. This meant that the curse was actually payment. It was a punishment for the criminals of war. In the 4th year, I didn't understand this case at first, to be honest. At first I believed that this case was separate from the other ones, even though it occurred on the same day. I never thought that they would be any relation to the other 3. But when I wrote it down and looked at it objectively, the victim is a relative of a traitor. After enemy, traitor, dissident, relative of a traitor doesn't sound too odd. Yeah, we talked about this, or explored it more in Watch Higurashi, I think. This idea that the curse is like just every year choosing less related victims, which I guess made sense for Keiichi, who's literally just an outsider who hasn't actually betrayed the village at all. But I don't know. I don't like it. It's too straight of a line. And if you believe this, I do think you have to believe that it's caused and planned by one person, where I like my more chaotic thing where there's a lot of lines with different people acting on it. Sounds a bit better to me. But who knows? It made sense in a way. At least it's kind of logical. It comes naturally as a 4th target. On the day the villagers worship Oyashiro-sama, their guardian deity, the criminals of the Dan conflict have been punished by the curse. Just like how I was forced to pay at the Sonozaki house, the criminals were made to pay as well. After writing these things out, I started thinking that the 4th incident might be in line with the series of mysterious deaths after all. Whether it was Satoshi-kun or the dope head, it seemed that they were forced to play the role of a murderer as a part of a bigger scenario. Now, I don't hate this statement if you go with the scripting thing, but I feel like Shion might be going towards the idea that the Sonozakis were forcing them to do it. And I don't hate that Sonozaki was telling the dope head to do it, but I don't think they were forcing Satoshi-kun to murder. Again, they could have pushed him to it, but same with Oishi or the Irie group. Even if Satoshi-kun was the real culprit, even if he killed his aunt because of an ordinary grudge, The murderers seem to synchronize with the grand scheme of the series of mysterious deaths in Hinamizawa, which is a payment plan for the war criminals. Now, I don't hate the idea that there is a mastermind, but other people are doing the murders for their own motivations. But that just seems very weird that this person can plan it all. Which again makes you think of Rita, since she has that giant brain. Or not even giant brain, I'm pretty sure it's just supernatural at this point. Again, I'll say it, the only supernatural thing I can get down with believing, like fully, is Rita being supernatural, just with her weird knowledge that's not really explainable. But I don't think she's the one who did it, because she's the one who was asking Akasaka for help, so it doesn't really make sense if she was doing it. So I don't believe that. I don't know who else would be, though. The murder was the result of his pain, but what if somebody planned that as part of a scenario? I do like this. This is obviously, I don't know if it's referring to, but it definitely feels like it's referring to the scripting idea. For instance, somebody might have suggested him to kill his aunt on that day, that night, and that place. Sorry. Yeah, I think this is fine. Again, still main three suspects, somebody from the Sonozakis. I mean, we'll just say Mion, I guess, because she's the main Sonozaki we follow. Oishi, we kind of talked about that a couple episodes, and Irie, I don't know why. We don't know, again, anything with Irie or his gang with Takano doesn't really work this chapter, because we haven't really seen them, and there's not a lot to pin them on, but yeah, could have been. I had no doubts that Satoshi-kun decided to kill her in order to protect Satoko. But did he really reach that conclusion on his own? That's interesting. We could also throw Rena into the mix. But I feel like it wasn't Rena. Though Rena could have persuaded Satoshi to kill the aunt, but she wasn't involved in the disappearance. Is what I kind of get just from the information we know of Rena in Honor Kakushi. But yeah, I guess we shouldn't let Rena off the hook either. Satoshi-kun was optimistic and somewhat detached, as far as I know. Would he really have considered murdering his aunt even if it was to protect his sister? Couldn't it be possible for somebody to have chosen the aunt as the fourth year's murder beforehand, and they used Satoshi-kun? I mean, yeah, it could be like that, but Shion's kind of doing it in the bigger picture where the mastermind for all of the murders is the one who helps Satoshi-kun or pushed Satoshi-kun into murdering the aunt, which is interesting. Again, I don't hate that idea, I guess. Someone not directly planning it, but kind of pushing for it. Again, no culprit. I feel like I'm repeating myself. No solid culprit yet, but we'll see. Eventually, I'm sure. Maybe not in this arc, but a lot more answers will be in the future arcs. Looking at it that way, the murder of the first year resembles this case. The main culprit behind the case hasn't been found yet, dead or alive. The other culprits testify that their fight had turned into a slaughter. But wouldn't it be possible that the main culprit had manipulated the situation? Sure, that's interesting. I was kind of thinking of even the main culprit manipulating the murderers, like not being involved in the first one. But that's true. We still don't know the missing culprit is. That's actually something to think about. I'll jot that down in my brain. What if he had been told to kill someone on that day, at that time, and in that place? Okay, never mind. She wasn't saying what I was just explaining. She was thinking the original thing. Well, there's that. But I still think that idea is something to think about. I am certain the first murder resembles Satoshi-kun's case very much. It doesn't to me, because how they phrased the first one is the the 5 people went in just to scare the manager but ended up killing him accidentally. Then they like, well, we already killed him, let's try to hide it. Well, Satoshi-kun's was definitely not accidentally, it was planned. But I guess just using Shion's logic, then I guess it kind of fits, but I think that's too much of a, it's a little too much of a stretch to connect these two. Though again, this could, if she is right, then at least this might point to who the influencer of the first and fourth murder is, which would be cool information if he got that. So, did that mean Satoshi-kun was being controlled by someone else? Oishi had presented me with a hypothesis that the Sonozaki family made Satoshi-kun disappear in order to end my relationship with the murderer. But when I read the notes I wrote down, his disappearance didn't seem too spontaneous. It seemed part of a bigger plan. Since I'd unexpectedly gotten involved in the plan, I had to be separated from him. Then Satoshi-kun was demoned away, as planned. At first, I also believed that the Sonozaki made him disappear because they didn't like that I was in love with a member of a family of traders. But something didn't add up. Something felt strange. I wasn't the reason for his disappearance after all. Even if I never met him in the first place, Satoshi-kun was supposed to kill his aunt in June 1982 and then disappear. That's interesting, taking the perspective that someone planned this like all the way from 5 years ago and it's just going exactly as planned, or he's helping mold it going to plan. She is helping it mold. Which is definitely the farther stretch. And I mean, unless someone has like Rita level foresight, then it's kind of weird, but interesting. At one point, I had been thinking of taking revenge on the Hague. I believe that she separated us. But what if my relationship with Satoshi-kun had nothing to do with his disappearance? What would that mean? Who made Satoshi-kun disappear? I need to understand the series of mysterious deaths in order to solve this mystery. What did all these deaths mean? Who was behind them, and for what purpose did they serve? I wanted to know the purpose, the motive, and who was responsible. Who took Satoshi-kun? I wanted to know if he is still alive. The series of mysterious deaths in Hinamizawa is also called Oyashiro-sama's curse. What is that curse? Specifically, what kind of god is Oyashiro-sama? What blessings does he bring and what punishments does he dole out? Well, we did kind of go over that. He punishes people who enter and leave the village, like outsiders who enter and villagers that leave. Takano talked about like a miasma thing coming out of the earth if they don't do their sacrifice thing. I don't remember exactly the whole details, but there's a lot in Watanashi, I think. Yeah, I think it was Watanashi. I wrote down my thoughts in the notebook. I mean, maybe Shion will meet Takano since she's the one to go to if you want knowledge about Hinamizawa. If you don't want it from me on. What's Oyashiro-sama? What is he? I think Oyashiro-sama was a girl? Didn't they say it was a female? Like, wasn't there like a female statue in a Watanashi? I'm not sure. I just thought it made sense if Rika is the incarnation, quote unquote, of Oyashiro-sama. I was so absorbed by it that I didn't realize somebody had been standing behind me watching me the whole time. Who we thinking? My immediate thing was Mion, but I'm gonna say Rena. I feel like it's a Rena time. I couldn't stop myself from gasping when I realized that. I mean, if Mion's watching, that's probably bad, investigating Hinamizawa like that. Oh! Well, it's Takano. We were literally just talking about you. It's definitely a good time for you to make your appearance. This is definitely up your alley, so... I mean, I guess if you're exploring Oyashiro-sama, then it's almost like a Takano signal for her to run over.
驚かせちゃったかしら?
So you are in this. This is good. It's good to have you actually in this so I can actually suspect you. And we need more Takano information. Right now I feel like I have like most of my ideas about her in place, but I feel like there's more something more deeper about her. I mean, you can say that about everyone, like Mion and stuff, but I feel like it could be possibly more deeper than Mion's character, honestly. Just because I do think that she could have been the murderer in Totoro Doroshi, so let's look for hints here. But it's good to see you, Takano. Glad you can make an appearance. All we're missing is Toмотaki this arc. The intelligent-looking woman giggled.
いえ、びっくりしただけです。こちらこそ場違いな大声を出してすみませんでした。
She could have apologized a little better too, since she'd been watching me from behind. But she just stared at my face instead.
あなたが園崎紫音さん？私の名前を知ってて、私が初対面ということは、お姉の知り合いか何かですか？
Being twins is a pain sometimes. People you've never met before can tell exactly who you are.
ごめんなさいね。
This also confirms that in the Satoshi era, Takano was this Takano. Unless this is different from the Takano in the Keiichi era. Though she does look exactly the same, though her hair kind of looks different to me, but that might be because we haven't seen her in like ever. But yeah, one of my ideas was that the Takano body they found up there was the real Takano, and we've been talking to an imposter to solve the corpse question of Watanabe and Totoro. But then after that, it's like, when did she disappear? Did she disappear during the Keiichi era? Like, obviously, if she doesn't look super similar and is able to act super similar, then it doesn't really it's not really believable if it's longer than a few days before her death. So yeah, I don't know. I don't want to look, but her hair is bothering me. But I could just be dumb because I don't remember.
私の知っている園崎さんは図書館なんかに来るような人じゃないから。
Hey, it is the library. Good. That means we have been here in Watanabe with Shion, actually.
噂に聞いた双子のシオンさんかなと思って。
Yeah, but it definitely seems like the Takano we know, so... I mean, I guess you can technically say the switch might have happened, when the first murder happened, but, yeah, no real clear pinpoint now, except that possibly it didn't happen in the Keiichi era. Just the only, like, clue I kind of had was when Keiichi passed her in Honor Kakashi, and she didn't have a sprite, and I was like, oh, maybe they're not showing her character because she's not exactly the same as the Takano we're introduced to later, but I'm not too sure about that now. The woman giggled again.
お察しの通り、私は園崎紫音です。どうもはじめまして、こんにちは。失礼ですがどちら様ですか？あら、ごめんなさいね。自己紹介がまだだったわね。
She seemed to love her own hair because she kept running her fingers through it boastfully. It's pretty good.
高野美代。
Hello.
美代って呼んでくれていいわよ。シオンちゃん。お気遣いありがとうございます。高野さん。
Good one, Shion. I don't think anyone's called her Mio, not even Toмотaki. Her condescending attitude bugged me. I hate meeting people like that. I closed my notebook and got ready to leave the desk. Nah, you want to talk to her.
怒ってる？
I mean, I can't really trust her, but she'll definitely give you the trivia you need.
ご検察、痛み入ります。
Look at that face. I don't think we've seen that Takano face. It's a weird expression. It's almost like a questioning look. That eyebrow raised. I like it. Might be thumbnail worthy. Though I guess that's kind of a... I mean, my thumbnails, the pre-generated ones recently have been pretty bad. They've been like almost all lanky bodyguard man, so need some spice if you don't get a CG. Which I don't think this is... Well, it could happen in this chapter, but I think it's more just setting up more investigation stuff before any sort of confrontations with Rena or Mion at this point. I think this is definitely gonna end the chapter with some Takano.
私は一人で考え事をするのが好きなんで、よそへ行かせていただきます。失礼します。ごきげんよう。残念ね。
I like that face too.
私たち話が合うと思ったのに。そうですか？私は合うとは思いかねますが。だってお社様のたたりについて研究する同志に出会えたんですもの。貴重な出会いだと思うんだけど。
She saw my notes. My face reddened.
これは私のそう妄想みたいなもの。デタラメです。
Now the question is, would you trust Oishi more than Takano? It's a hard one. I kind of want to trust Oishi more, but it's kind of a toss-up for me. Even though I think Takano's a possible murderer, whereas I can't really say I think Oishi did any of the murders in the Kichi era stuff. I still kind of want to trust Takano, just a tiny bit more, which is kind of weird. So hopefully we see some team-ups with Shion and Takano. That could be fun.
お社様のたたりと呼ばれる一連の連続開始事件。
I remember this song, I think.
いずれの事件も個別に見えながら確実に一つの意思に基づいて行われている。毎年一人がお社様のたたりにあって死に、一人が生贄に捧げられて失踪する。は
Yeah, I mean, Shion didn't bring up the sacrifice/disappearance aspect, so Takano informing on that might make Shion think that Satoshi's been sacrificed into this swamp.
何を急に言い出すんですか？一人がたたりで死んで、一人が何ですって？
I was taken aback by her weird spiel, but I realized right away that she said something extraordinary.
南沢村連続開始事件の犠牲者が常に偶数人数だってことはあなたも気づいてたんじゃない？
I don't necessarily believe that. I think it's even more likely if you do want to blame the Sonozakis for something, it would be like making the murderer disappear, which might be an indication that all the missing people are actually the murderers. Obviously, which was Satoshi in the first one, which might be a good connector, but I guess that would mean the wives of both the Furude and the Hojos did it. But still, I don't think you can 100% say it. But I like it better, the idea that someone's sacrificing people, like one group, than the same group killing people, even though they kind of go hand in hand. At the same time, I don't hate Takano doing that. I was kind of thinking about that earlier. Well, not earlier recently, but earlier before, but I never brought it up. But there in Higurashi, when Takano had Tomotaki's bike in her... Actually, no, that doesn't make sense. I don't say never mind. I'll take that back for now. I'll try to refine it a bit better in my head later. Maybe I'll tell you later. But yes, Takano did have Tomotaki's bike, which was very suspicious. And the night he died, too. And she was supposed to be dead already. The number of victims is always even. I was confused, but I tried to figure out what that meant. The damn construction site manager died in the first year. There's only one victim. In the second year, the victims were the parents of Satoshi-kun, so it was 2 people. In the third year, it was the priest, and if her death was also planned, his wife, too, again. And then this year, Satoshi-kun's aunt died, and Satoshi-kun went missing. If Satoshi-kun's disappearance was planned, the number of victims was 2. It's true. Except for the first one, the victims always came in an even number, too. Then you have to include the missing culprit of the 5 people who killed the dam manager. Wait. I had just concluded myself that the first case resembled the 4th one. The main culprit was still missing. He might have been demoned away, just like Satoshi-kun. There you go.
Ne? So desho?
Thanks, Takano. Takano-san sounded like a teacher who had showed me how to solve a difficult math problem. I wasn't quite convinced, but I couldn't deny what she'd said either.
ヒントはこのくらいでいいかしら？二人で存分に語り明かしたかったんだけど、あなたが孤独を好むなら仕方がない。
Thanks for taunting us, Takano. Let's just go already.
失礼な口の聞き方をしてすみませんでした、ミオさん。
Saying the first name.
私のことはシオンと呼んでください。
Let's just get right into the friendship then. I like it. Takano does too, apparently. She seemed content that I changed my attitude. She kept giggling for a while. She didn't seem that reliable. I didn't want to be acquainted with her for too long. So the only interactions we've seen with Shion and Takano was in Watanabe during the shed thing. But I'm trying to think of if anything significant happened between the two. Except for Takano spooking Shion. But she already knew about that stuff. And if she learns about that stuff now, then that might have just been a pre-act. Like, if she learns about the curse stuff now, then maybe she was just pretending to be scared in the shed. Which is an interesting idea. Which means the whole shed thing was planned for Keiichi. Which is also interesting. I don't know. Just keep finding out those ideas. Maybe one of them will hit. Then I can be like, oh yes, I did guess it. Just look at this video. When we find out the answers. But I don't get to talk to people very much. And what she said interested me.
改めて自己紹介するわね。高野美代よ。美代って呼んでくれると嬉しいわ。
よろしくです、ミオさん。私は園崎シオン。ミオンの双子の妹にあたります。シオンと呼んでください。
I took the hand of Mio-san. I took the hand that Mio-san held out as a sign of reconciliation.
さっきの話を聞かせてください。二人犠牲者が出ると言いましたね。一人がたたりで、もう一人が生贄とか言いましたか？
ねえ、シオンちゃん。この話で盛り上がる前に、どうしてこの話に興味があるか聞かせてもらってもいいかしら。
She leaned over and looked into my eyes. It was kind of uncomfortable.
ミオさんこそ、私のことをどこまでご存知です？
Oops.
ご存知なら、おおよその見当はつくんじゃないかと。
さあ。何年か遠くの全寮制の学校にいて、最近沖宮に戻ってきたとしか知らないわよ。
そうですか。じゃあ想像つきますよね。私がいない間に起こった連続開始事件。私はよくわからないので調べてるんです。
Hiding the fact about the relationship with Satoshi.
ちょっとした興味本位で。
なるほどね。興味本位でね。
I got the impression that she knew about what happened to Satoshi-kun and me. Because she instantly recognized me as Shion, not Mion. I didn't know why I thought that way, as she shouldn't have access to the sources for that. For instance, Oishi does. It was just the look in her eyes that made me think that way.
ミオさんにも聞きます。さっき私のことを お社様のたたりについて調べる同志と言いましたね。なぜたたりなんか研究してるんですか？そして連続開始事件の犠牲者は偶数人であることも言い切りましたね。ひなみ沢連続開始事件は確かに通称でお社様のたたりと呼ばれています。なぜたたりを研究すると連続開始事件にまで踏み込むことになるのですか？
シオンちゃん、質問が一度に多すぎるわね。
Slow it down.
それに何が聞きたいのかややこしくて分かりにくいわ。
Oh. I couldn't say anything in return. Maybe I'd been too inquisitive.
順に答えるわね。
Okay.
私が研究しているのはたたりじゃなく、もっと高に。鬼ヶ淵村の風俗詩よ。
Mm-hmm.
平たく言えば古代ひなみ沢村の知られざる歴史。
鬼ヶ淵村？
Ah, she doesn't even know about this. So yeah, I think this is confirmation that at least Shion and Takano did talk about this history that spooked her and Keiichi and Watanadashi. So that's pretty interesting. Or maybe Takano wasn't like in the plan, but she was just like talking about it, and Shion was kind of building it up for Keiichi. That's a good thing to note.
鬼ヶ淵って鬼の国につながってるっていう
Honestly,
村の奥にある底なし沼のこと
if we
です
just
か？
do go with that line, that does point to Shion being evil. Well, maybe not evil, but more had ulterior motives, I guess. Which I guess everyone does, but you know.
あと知られざる歴史暗黒史って何です？
I kept asking questions. Mio-san, however, looked pleased to hear them.
鬼ヶ淵村というのはひなみ沢村の明治以前の名前よ。暗黒史というのは人食い鬼の歴史は
Ah, the man-eating demons, huh? That was a fairy tale told in Hinamizawa. A long time ago, demons came out of the swamp, and while the villagers battled with them, they ended up living peacefully together. The villagers transcended and became a sacred people having demon blood in their veins. That long-forgotten fairy tale came back to my mind vividly.
ひなみ沢に縁のある人なら誰もが知ってる当たり前の昔話よね。では、その半人半鬼の仙人たちが時に山を降り人をさらって食らった宴の話は知っている？
何の話ですか？
村人たちの体に半分流れる鬼の血は、鬼は鬼でも人食い鬼の血だったって話は聞いたことない？
I think this is almost exactly well, not exactly, but like 80% close to like what Takano told Kichi in the shed.
ああ、
Kind
まあ
of
そんな
similar
話
to
もありますね。
the phone call with Satoshi before he did the murder. I dodged the question. Hinamizawa used to be a desolate village, but it grew in prominence after the Second World War and expanded its influence to Okonomiya and other areas. The people who disliked and discriminated against the village called us man-eating demons. I remember that. The young villagers don't take it seriously, but the older people can get seriously upset about it. They certainly can't take it as a joke. So, the term man-eating demons is forbidden. We normally never use it. Well, I don't know if that's a term you'd normally just throw out. I guess you could say, I'm a man-eating demon, don't mess with me. Even during my rebellious phase, I never spoke those words. Mio-san, however, seemed to have no qualms with saying it out loud.
気に障った？
何がですか？
Also, I just realized a long time ago when we were talking about, actually, should I even bring it up? Whatever, it's fine. It was like 20 minutes back in the video, so I guess it doesn't matter too much now.
人食い鬼って単語を意味嫌う村人は多いからね。気に障ったなら謝るけれど。
年寄り連中は気にするらしいですけど、まあ私はそんなには気にしてませんので。それより続けてください。
ありがとう。じゃあ続けるわね。古代の村人たちにはね、人、そしてその食人の儀式を様式化し、さまざまなセレモニーや文化、風習を生み出したと言われている。私たちが6月のお祭りだと思っている綿流しだって、本来はちょっと早い夏祭りなんかでは断じてない。本来は犠牲者をさらい、食べるために行う食人の宴だった。彼らはね、犠牲者を高速台に縛り付け、お魚をおろす時みたいに腹綿を引きずり出して、それを川に投げ捨てたとされている。ほら、魚の腹綿って綿って言うじゃない。それが語源よ、綿流しの。
綿流し。
そうよ。お布団の綿なんかでごまかすようになったのは、私の研究では明治の頃からじゃないかと思うわね。まさかこの昭和の時代にそんな恐ろしいことが堂々とできるわけもないのだし。
Everything Mio-san was talking about sounded startling. I was just taken aback. I couldn't wholly believe it right away. She sensed that from my expression.
もちろん、思いつきなでっち上げなんかでは断じてない。誰にも見せないって誓うなら、綿流しのあたりの研究ノートを見せてあげてもいいけれど。
Mio-san took out a notebook from her bag and flipped through it. She appeared to be doing her research thoroughly.
ありがとうございます。お借りできるものなら後でゆっくり読んでみたいと思います。
いいわよ。本当は閲覧厳禁の秘密ノートだけれどね。研究の同志になら特別に見せてあげてもいいわね。
Mio-san handed me the notebook a bit hesitantly. It looked like it'd take a whole night to finish reading. It was densely packed with information. I saw copies of various documents and quotes in there too. It wasn't just some delusion of hers.
一番最初にミオさんは言いましたよね。毎年の事件で一人がたたりで死に、一人が生贄にされて失踪すると。
A person is sacrificed and disappears. Satoshi-kun had gone missing. Did he become a sacrifice? What is a sacrifice anyways? Mio-san looked pleased to hear my questions again. She took out another notebook and handed it to me.
読めばわかるけど、かいつまんで話すわね。お社様のたたりとは、簡単に言えばお社様の怒りのこと。お社様が怒ったら罰としてたたりが起こる。それはわかるわよね。
一応わかります。ダム戦争で村に敵対した人間たちにお社様が怒り、たたりが起こったと、そう言いたいわけですよね。
そうね。でね、お社様のたたりというのは放置してはいけないの。もっともっと大きなたたりを招くからね。だから神職である古出家の歴代当主たちは、お社様のたたりがあるたびにそのお怒りを鎮めるために生贄を捧げる必要があったの。それを生贄の儀と呼ぶみたいなんだけどね。
じゃあつまり毎年綿流しの日にお社様のたたりで一人死んで、そのたたりを鎮めるためにさらにもう一人を生贄にして殺してると、そう言うんですか？でも一人しか死んでませんよ、現実に。生贄に捧げられたなんて聞いたこともない。
死体が出ないのは当然よ。だって生贄の儀式は 犠牲者を鬼ヶ淵の沼に沈めることなんだもの。あの沼は一度沈めば二度と浮き上がることはないと言われる底なしの沼。死体なんて出ようはずもない。
じゃあ毎年のもう一人の犠牲者はみんな沼の底に沈んでると。
That's a different shade of the swamp. We just seen this image so many times. I think this is the first time we've seen it like this. So pretty. Does that mean Satoshi-kun is also at the bottom of the dark green swamp?
さあ、本当に沼の底に沈められているかはわからないわ。
I just realized also from Tutorial Higurashi, they never did a real answer to the prologue thing where they found that Watanagashi style body in like a sewer. Like they never even brought it up after that, so I wonder if that's just a red herring or like what the heck was that about. Or if that's like the real, that's what the Sonozakis were actually doing. So that's all their murders in accordance to the traditional stuff, which kind of clears them away from some of the curse murder stuff.
でも連続事件を起こしている人たちがそれを意識して一人を消していることは間違いないと思うわね。
Each year, a traitor to the village dies on the day of the Watanagashi because of Oyashiro-sama's curse. And another person is sacrificed in order to pacify Oyashiro-sama's anger. That person's body will never be found because he or she is supposedly thrown into the bottomless swamp.
そう、つまり南沢村連続開始事件というのは2つでセットになったもの。そしてそれを毎年繰り返すことによってダム戦争時の旧敵を毎年2人ずつ殺していけるシステムのことを指しているの。私の話は省略しすぎてるからね。多分ちょっと信じがたいとは思う。だからこそあなたに預けた研究ノートをね、時間をかけてゆっくり読んでほしいの。内容を理解できたなら私の話がそういい加減なものでもないことがわかるはず。
Oh, thank you. I heard a man's voice just then. Oh, yo, Tomataki made your appearance. Now literally everyone, every sprited character except for Keiichi and obviously Akasaka and whatever Himisubushi characters have been revealed. Cool. A middle-aged man with a hat was waving at Mio-san from the entrance.
ごめんなさい。
Or
待ち人が来たみたい。
maybe we won't actually get to see Tomataki, but what's up, buddy?
もっとゆっくり話がしたかったのに残念。でも機会はまだこれからもあるでしょうしね。
Thanks for the history, Takano. I wasn't really talking through that since again we have heard what she said before, so.
そのノートはそれまで預けておくわね。
But we got more information at least. Even if you can't trust Takano, I think I can trust her notes at least about the history of Hinamizawa. I think that's almost the most trustworthy notes we have.
中身をよく読んで理解できたなら私のいい話し相手になってくれるのを楽しみにしているわね。
Mio-san wrapped up the conversation and headed to where the man was waiting for her. She left her old notebooks in my hands. Kind of surprising, but at least trusting Shion not to do anything with them. Mio-san waved at me and she left the library with her companion. I took a seat again and opened what she'd given me. What bugged me was the series of mysterious deaths, also known as the Curse of Oyashiro-sama. Maybe I'd be able to get closer to the truth by reading these notebooks. If I study them carefully, I might be able to find out who was really behind the incidents. Why did Satoshi-kun have to disappear? What was he involved in? How did that happen? Maybe Takano's notes would bring me the answer. Research notes Mio Takano. I started flipping the pages, this time making sure that no one was watching over my shoulder. Cut. Into the evening. Into the night. It was time for the library to close. I had to leave. Hello, train. I bought some food on my way home. I shut my door and locked it right away. Then I heard the door of the neighboring apartment open. Kasai lived next door. Nobody else lived on this floor of a nearly empty apartment building anyway. I clearly heard the door open and close. Kasai must have noticed that. I came home and was coming over because he wanted to talk to me. I unlocked the door and shouted out to him.
葛西なの？鍵は開いてますよ。葛西さんじゃないよ。
Oh,
シオン。
Mion? In this chapter, with 55 minutes, guess we're getting a long one. Let's go. Okay, I wasn't expecting this because we got Takano, but this has a high possibility of becoming kind of spicy. Especially with Hinamizawa research notes, which I don't know how Mion would feel about that. And not like good ones about how good the damn protest was, but sort of the dark history. That voice. I twitched.
入るよ。
Ah.
どうぞ。おね。
The door slowly opened. Oh my god. I'm getting all jittery now. My alter ego, Mion Sonozaki, appeared. She was holding a box of cake. While smiling timidly...
どうぞ上がってって言うまで玄関に突っ立ってるつもりですか？
Well, Mion seems happy. Where's the CG of her smiling holding a cake? That would be beautiful.
どうぞ上がって。全然可愛くない部屋で申し訳ないけどね。
I also noticed in this art, there's a lot more black screens. I don't know why they just don't show the background like they usually did for the other arts. Unless I'm misremembering and they did that for all of the arts. But I feel like I'm looking at a black screen a lot of the time in this.
落ち着いた雰囲気のとこだね。
Hello, Mion. Always good to see you. I guess maybe not for Shion, but for me. Sis looked a bit tense when entering my room. It was her first time here. It's a very cute room.
どう？
And that legendary lamp. Or lighting. I guess it's not a lamp. How's life? What a great question. I love when anyone ever asks that. The broadest of questions. How's life? Not bad. It's alright.
新しい学校はやっぱりつまらないです。
Oh, we're going to school. I didn't even realize that.
一応通ってはいますけど、気分が乗らないときはサボらせてもらってます。全寮制だとなかなかそうはいかないですからね。セール中はやっぱり辛かったか。チェ、お姉も一度閉じ込められてみろってんです。ごめんごめん。
We'll see how long this is. If this is too long, if I don't know how long this chapter is, but if this is like ends up being like a 2-hour recording, I'll just split it down the middle, even though I usually don't split my episodes, but probably don't want to see a 2-hour recording in one sitting, so
ケーキ買ってきたからさ、食べよ。
cake though. I haven't had cake in literally, well, I just had lemon cream pie, but that's not cake. So I haven't had cake in like over a year, I want to say. No, I've had to have cake like pre-virus sometimes. I just don't remember. Probably in like Christmas or something. Mion opened the box. I saw 2 cheesecakes there. There we go. I freaking love cheesecakes. I think that's my favorite like general cakes. Not that I really know the names of a lot of cakes. I mean, I used to like ice cream cakes as a kid, but cheesecakes are just so good. We have the same taste in food, so we don't have to fight if we get 2 of the same thing. Beautiful. I chatted with her over the cheesecake. I taught her about school and whatnot. Come on. When we getting the Satoshi name drop, then we get the cringy spice.
必要な家具とかがあったら言ってね。融通できるかもしれないから。この部屋にもようやく馴染んできたとこだけど、近いうちに引き払うかもしれないから、家具はノーサンキューです。
Well, you don't move out next year, so.
うちのお父さんが沖宮に住むつもりなら戻ってこいってうるさいんですよ。お父さんに会いたくないんだけど、かといって逆らうのも怖いしな。
Still haven't met the parents. Though to be fair, we haven't met any parents except for Keiichi's, so we might never meet them.
お父さんもシオンがいなくなって寂しそうだったから、なんだかんだ言っても帰ってきたら喜ぶと思うよ。チェー、人事だと思って。
Come to think of it, this was the first time I talked to since I was allowed to live as Shion Sonozaki. Post-nail torture. She didn't look how she was at the Sonozaki house that day. Yep. The successor of the Sonozaki family and my twin sister are two different people. The demon lives inside her, the leader of the Sonozakis. Our bodies are exactly the same except for the tattoo of a demon on her back. Mion's destiny as a successor was set in stone when she got that tattoo. It's pretty simple. The Mion from that night was different from the Mion before me. When I was forced to tear off my fingernails, I momentarily despised her. But if I were the next leader of the family, I'd have done the same. Well, that's interesting. So no grudges. Much better people than I probably would have been. I don't think I'd ever forgive someone for that, but good for Shion.
シオン、爪は治った？
It's a pouting Mion.
もうすっかり傷口は塞がったからね。最近は目立つのがかえって嫌なんで、包帯みたいなのもしてないです。でもまだだいぶいびつでね、あまり人には見せられないかな。
I sneered at her, displaying my incomplete fingernails. Gross. Mion grew quiet and looked down.
謝らなくていいよ。
It's just kind of funny, like, how cute she was, but, like, in the actual torture, when she kind of, like, it wasn't even a taunt, but it was like, come on, Mion, you only have 2 left, do your best. It's just, like, the super nonchalant, sadistic thing was funny. And now she's being cute.
ミオンだって、あそこは仕方なかったんだからさ。次期当主の役割を演じただけ。恨んじゃいないから。ごめんね。オッケー。
It's interesting because I remember just responding with a comment last night. How I feel like Mion would not regret what she did as much as Oryu would possibly, because of how much she does change when she is the successor and how much she cares about the village, or what it seems like. But here we got an apology, but I guess you never know with the Sonozaki sisters. Even though I want to trust Mion, because we've seen some good acting skills, right?
でも、
But
もう一度謝ったらそれは取り消し。一生許さないよ。え、
the blush.
何それ。お姉は一度謝りモードに入るとなかなか抜けられない悪い癖がありますからね。私の方で区切らないとキリがないんです。
Interesting. It's kind of like Rena. She always,
許してくれるの？
she doesn't stop apologizing to, at least in Anakata, she.
サトシとのことも。
Ah? Wait, that was really suspicious. I'm surprised the music didn't stop and she was like, what are you talking about? Maybe she doesn't think immediately, like, what? Did she do something with Satoshi? My heart ached when she mentioned his name. It just felt like the ache of an old wound.
シオンがサトシのことを好きなのは もちあれだけ大勢の前で熱愛宣言しちゃいましたからね。
Sorry for cutting you off.
なんだか今さら恥ずかしくもなんともないや。
That was the alpha Shion move.
でもバッチャはあれで本当にけじめがついたと思ってるんだよ。シオンがちゃんと自分でけじめをつけてみせたから、それで全部終わりって。そうでなきゃ困ります。あれだけ痛い思いしたんですから。サトシどこに行ったんだろうね。
Oh, there's the music. Stop. I started choking when I heard her say that. Uh-oh, time for the spice. I just said it to her myself. I said that I'd forgiven her completely. But that promise instantly evaporated. Just because of what she said, I felt like I'd turned into a completely different person. Uh-oh. What did you just say, Mian? Did you say I wonder where Satoshi-kun disappeared to? Who else could know other than you and your folks? Look at the teddy bear. The teddy bear looks extra spooky with those white eyes, huh? I mean, what did you say? Where did he go? I felt my eyeballs reddening in anger. It felt as though they were about to pop. I choked on a burning sensation in my throat. Mian's expression rapidly changed. Yeah, you don't say Satoshi's name in vain in front of Shion. It's just trouble. It looked like she noticed the devil mask on my face. We were one and the same. We could understand each other's thoughts without voicing them. So showing our expressions was like unveiling everything in our hearts to the other.
ごめん。
Even though I told her not to apologize anymore, Mian apologized. It's not great. We're seeing red. Jesus Christ. I felt like strangling her. I was trying to make her confess where she hid Satoshi-kun. If she told me she threw him into Onidafuchi swamp, I'd strangle her to death right there, then and there.
サトシのことは本当に知らないの。
That's a lie.
本当バッチャだって何も知らない。
Oh my god, we're actually strangling her. I don't even think Shion realizes she's doing it. I felt like strangling her, but she actually is strangling her.
本当なの。嘘だ嘘だ嘘だ。じゃあ本当にお社様のたたりで鬼隠しにあったとでも言うつもりなのか。たたりなんてあるもんか、たたりなんてあるもんか。
Words kept coming out of my mouth like I was chanting a spell. See, this is similar attitude to the Satoko thing from Watanagashi, with that weird ladder rant thing. I wasn't speaking by my own will anymore. It was the demon who was controlling me. The demon that had been sleeping deep inside me woke up and was speaking through my mouth. My hands, I mean the demon's hands, grabbed Mian by the neck.
お前たちがサトシ君を鬼隠しにしたんだ。お前たちその先本家が、お前たちが返して、私のサトシ君を返して返して。
My hand slowly but surely squeezed Mian's neck. Mian put her hands onto mine. I looked at her fingers. 3 of the fingernails on her left hand looked as ugly as mine. Huh?
ミオ、これはどうしたの？
Oh, that's because she helped Shion via phone calls. Interesting. So she went through the same thing too. And I bet she like man-moded the whole thing. Because it was her duty. Tears rolled down her cheeks. She didn't have to answer. She had the same scars as I did. She atoned as well. The way those wounds were healing looked the same as mine. So did she get these wounds around the same time I did?
シオンだけが 爪を剥がされるなんてかわいそすぎるんだもん。
Mion started sobbing. I stood there petrified, still wringing Mion's neck.
シオンがね、サトシのことを好きだって分かって、私シオンとサトシに幸せになってほしかったんだよ。だってシオンばっかりいつもかわいそうで、私たちは同じ双子なのに、なんでシオンばっかりいつも差別され。
Sorry, Mion. It didn't come to us as a surprise to me that Mion might also have loved Satoshi-kun as I did. We've always liked the same stuff and even the same people. She was stupid enough to feel obligated towards somebody like me.
私ね、バッチャにね、怒鳴って言ったんだよ。
Does it say that Mion liked Satoshi? I didn't really get that out of that.
シオンとサトシをそっとしてあげてほしいって。
If this is true, again, I always have that like 10-20% of not believing either of the Sonozaki sisters because of their amazing acting skill. This is kind of shifting my view on Mion's character, which is weird at this point. Though I guess that should be natural since it's the answer arts.
そしたらけじめをつけたら見逃そうという話になって、だからねちゃんとシオンが頑張ったから、もうね二人は普通に過ごしてもよかったんだよ。なのにサトシいなくなっちゃった。こんなのひどいよね。ひどい。
Mion isn't smart enough to shed crocodile tears. She isn't? I thought she was a great actor, but okay. Those tears were real. Her tears dissolved my demon's anger like how the sun melts ice. No more choking. I still like 10-20% of me doesn't believe Mion. I'm sorry, Mion. But I want to.
わからないの。園崎家とかバッチャとか、本当にそういうのは何も関わってないの。バッチャはシオンのけじめで全てを許した。だからサトシに何かするなんて絶対にないの。ミオ、ごめん。
Sorry, I almost killed you.
苦しかった。
I took my hands off her neck and held her instead.
苦しくなんかないよ。シオンはもっともっと苦しかったんだよね。
I shouted at the demon in my mind. I believed in Mion. I had been convinced it was the Sonozaki family that made Satoshi-kun disappear. But Mion denied it, while shedding tears. I liked in her future notebook self, she did mention that she actually believes, now she sees it as a possibility of happening, so something must have happened. Between her and me, her tears were more convincing than any words. So, I'd believe in her. It absolutely wasn't the Sonozaki family that made him disappear. Oh. So, do you really think Satoshi-kun disappeared because of Oyasho-sama's curse? I don't believe in curses, and Mion didn't do it. If it wasn't the curse of the Sonozaki family who demoned him away. I don't know. I just know it's not Mion. It's not the Sonozaki family because Mion says so. That's stupid, Shion. Are you going to ignore Satoshi-kun's voice? I know. You don't have to remind me, demon. I can hear his words. Also, again, we're getting this demon stuff, and that was referenced with Mion saying the demon was taking over her. So, again, as this arc has been showing, lots of points to Shion doing stuff. I know he's mumbling with an ambivalent expression like he always used to do, even though he knows help won't come. I'll help him no matter what. I'll save him if he's alive. I'll avenge him if he's dead. But Mion didn't do it. You just want to take it out on somebody. It doesn't matter who. But I'm Shion, not a demon. You're only a part of me. Don't try to take control. Fuck off. Don't ever show up again. Good fight. The demon faded away. My body went limp and I fell to the floor while holding Mion.
Shion, 大丈夫? もう大丈夫だよ、ミオン。私たちはどうしてミオンとシオンなんだろうね。どうして同じ一人であってはいけないんだろうね。やめなよ。私たちはもう何度もそれを自問してきたよ。でも答えなんか出ない。現実に私とあなたはミオンとシオン。それが現実。私ね、自分がミオンでもシオンでもどっちでもいいんだよ。私たちは私たち、公平な関係でいたいのに。仕方がないよ。ミオンの背中には鬼が宿ってる。闘志を継ぐ定めが宿ってる。それは仕方がない。私、嫌だ。鬼なんかいらない。鬼なんかいらない。私は鬼じゃない。鬼じゃない。同じ人間なのがいい。
Mion is a demon and Shion is a human. Even though we're twins, there's a difference between us. Wasn't it impossible for humans to live with demons after all? It should be possible, because they did it before. That's the legend of Hinamizawa. Humans and demons lived in harmony together, as Oyasho-sama watched over them. Mion, Shion, Satoshi-kun, demons, humans. Oyasho-sama's curse, the series of mysterious deaths. Satoshi-kun's disappearance. We fell asleep while holding each other, while holding everything. And that's the chapter. And okay, not bad. 118. It is 12:09, so the video's up. So I need to comment on that after I'm done with the hints and stuff. But that's alright. 3 tips. You're treating me too much. That was interesting. That wasn't like too cringy, spicy. But why did like Mion just do that? So it didn't sound like, or you punished Mion. It sounded more like Mion just did it to herself because she felt bad for Shion, which is really effed up. And I'm assuming that then she just did it by herself without any assistance, which is kind of insane. I don't know. It kind of changes my view of Mion. But then again, Mion acted totally different in the 3 question arcs than she does now. Maybe she just has that soft spot for Shion, but in like every other aspect of her life is kind of what I thought it is to be. But let's get those notebooks going. Don't like to be late to my own video. 50, 64, 85. I wonder, are these like all new in the notebook, or are these like not in a 21, 24, 29, 34? Yeah, okay, it is new. And of course, there's the notebook pages in the arts, but we don't get to have them. in like a box or whatever because they were just there. So that kind of sucks. But yeah, new tips. 50 first. This was a different color, but I don't think that actually signifies anything, as we've seen before. I saw Mio Takano a few times after that. At her core, she was fantasized with the bizarre, and she had an insatiable curiosity that was just as strong. I have to remind myself not to take her story too seriously. Otherwise, I might start believing that Satoshi-kun disappeared because of the curse. She talks about the dark history of Hinamizawa a lot. It's all very interesting. Her theories are based on nothing but conjecture, but some of her intuition covers facts that only members of the Sonozaki family would know. She thinks that Oyasho-sama's curse is the continuation of these ancient rituals. In other words, she believes that the curse is performed by religious fanatics. That's interesting. What if, according to her theory, a religious cult once existed in Hinamizawa, and the three families stemmed from it? Well, kind of made sense. She believes that they are operating behind the scenes in order to revive the dignity of the Onitafuji people, which was lost during the Meiji era. Mio-san's theories are far-reaching, and looking at them on a larger scale, they end up making a lot of sense. But they can't offer any explanation for Satoshi-kun's disappearance when using them on a smaller one. Yeah, it's more of a general theory. Her theories are just too broad. That's interesting. So the idea of, like, that could be an outsider group instead of the clinic stuff. I mean, if you think about who would be a religious fanatic, it would be, like, Takano would be the culprit. Unless, not that I believe I mean, again, that's my motivation for assuming Takano is for her beliefs for Oyasho-sama and her trying out rituals and stuff by killing people. Not that I believe she's, like, leading. I mean, if you want to cut off, I like the clinic theory. I like Irei being a suspect, but again, he's like the least suspicious person in my opinion, besides the new information about the lunatic having information about the murder when Irei was on the scene. I think that's actually a good pin. But if you want to, like, leave Irei out and say Takano had an outsider group, it doesn't actually sound horrible to say she's leading some religious group. But yeah, that's more of a speculation. I think I'll stick with the clinic theory, but I guess, again, like I say with every piece of information, good to note. 64. So I'm assuming because of that, we're not actually gonna meet Takano again, if Shion's just jotting that down. I exchange information with Oishi every now and then. We each expect new leads from each other, but neither of us had any luck. I no longer believe that the tip Satoshi-kun might have head to Tokyo. It was clearly bogus anyway. Although I can't befriend Oishi, he's been fair about the deal. He alone has been serious about uncovering any new information. Oishi's sources are quite reliable, so whenever I found some dubious tip, I checked with him to see if it was valid. My meetings with him have diminished in frequency since he's been assigned to new cases. Eventually, we stopped meeting entirely. Oishi stopped investigating, and I reached the limits of my sources of information. People now think that Satoshi's disappearance was a supernatural phenomenon called demoning away. In Hinamizawa, they refer to his disappearance as him having transferred, and nobody will talk about it otherwise. I don't like the way that phrase is used to erase him. Well, bringing up the transfer aspect. Interesting, so it sounds like the transfer thing originated from Satoshi's disappearance, which I guess makes sense, because you don't really need to say that for the other disappearances, because you can assume they're already dead, or the murderer ran away, but, yep. So that was Takano, this was Oishi. I don't know who would this be, if we're going by interactions with people. This could just be its own thing. Okay, this is just information. During the... What is this song? This song sounds cool. Is this new? I think this is new. I'm digging it. During the upheaval surrounding Oyasho Summit's curse in 1982, I was pulled this way and that by new leads on Satoshi Kon's disappearance. Every time I found information that looked promising, I kept changing my theories. Dude, I'm digging this song. This lullaby tone. It's nice. Sorry, I'm just enjoying this. But that also became an incredible burden on me. It wore me down plenty on its own. I feel you, bro. Theorizing and always changing it. I've been going through that too. I'm with you, Shion. The fatigue was harsh, but it also provided a very kind acceptance. Bit by bit, it soothed away the anger, sadness, and doubt that wore me down. I'll never forget Satoshi-kun. I'll never try to forget him and move on. I constantly repeated those to myself in my head. I repeated them to keep my memories of Satoshi-kun from fading too, over and over. For the sake of my fond memories of Satoshi-kun, together with my fear and my sadness, I repeated them forever and ever. Ba, ba, ba. That was a cute tip. Interesting. So that's going to wrap up this episode. Another long one, but I guess that's expected from my... Well, actually, we didn't actually get a chapter break this whole chapter, right? So I think I was right to assume the notebook thing was a chapter break. But yeah, hopefully you enjoy this. I'll probably record something either later today or at night during my usual time. Don't know if it's Higurashi. I do want to record at least one of every other series I have. But yeah, hopefully you enjoyed. I'll see you next time. It's getting good. So it looks like Shion's not going to be turning against the Sonozakis, which kind of goes against what I thought was going to happen. So let's see where Shion's investigations end up. Though it looks like from her notebook that obviously she doesn't end up finding Satoshi, but give me some more information. I need it. But yeah, thank you for watching, and I will see you next week. Woo, bye for now.